Welcome to the first activity. In this activity, we are going to be looking at population as an economic indicator. We are going to get our data from Statistics Canada. So we'll go and look for population data from Statistics Canada. There are 6 things we want to do. The first is to look for the data from the website, download the data, import the data into Power Query, clean the data, plot the data, and comment on the data. So I will be doing all of this so that you can see and replicate it. And even if you have some difficulties with it, in a few weeks, you are going to be an expert doing this because you'll do it over and over such that you'll be able to go look for any data you want, plot it, and comment on it. So those who are using Mac, this stage you will have some problems with it. So I strongly recommend you use a PC or you use the computers at school. That's what I recommend because the Excel version doesn't have this, the Mac Excel version. But I'll check online. Maybe Microsoft Excel has updated what they were doing in the past, but in the past this was not possible. So without wasting time, let's go and look for population data. So the first thing is to access the website of Statistics Canada. So immediately in my Google, I just type Statistics Canada, go to your Google browser, type StatCan, and it gives me this. I'll click here to go to the website of Statistics Canada, and here we go. I'll take English, and you have a number of indicators which are presented here. You immediately at the starting page, you have quarterly population, consumer price index, unemployment, and so on. We are going to be looking at all of these indicators such that you will become very familiar with them. So we want to get this data. That's what we said. We said the first thing is to look for the data, download the data. Let's do it right now. I'm going to click here on quarterly population. And once we do that, it brings us here. Now, I want to get the data from this table. The source is this table. I'll click here. It's going to take me to that table. And once I get to that table, you can take a look. The data is provided quarterly. You have Canada and you have the different provinces and territories, and you can see it's quarterly. Of course, a year has 4 quarters. You see what's going on. Now, if you want to know how long it goes, you can just click here and you can see that we have population data for a very long time, from 1946. So we want to see how population has been changing in Canada and also how it has been changing in the different territories. So that's what we want to do. Now, to download the data, you come here. I'm going to click on that, and I make sure I take the second to the last. It's a CSV file. It says download entire table, and I will click there to download it. At times it downloads immediately. At times it brings you to this page. That is fine. When it brings you here, you just click here, and it's going to download the zip data. So I'm going to click there. You can see it has downloaded it, and it will download it to my download folder. So if you don't see it here, just go to your download folder. Hopefully you know where your download folder is, and I'll go to my download folder for us to open that zip file. So here I am in my download folder. What I'm going to do is just click on this file, the file we just downloaded, and I'll come here and click extract all. So whatever method you use to extract zip folders, that's what you should do. I'll click there and it gives me the option. I will say, okay, download it here. And once you finish extracting it, open it. Okay, so here we go. And this is it. So this is my file. It's open. I'm going to close the other one. It's important for you to know where it is. It's in my download folder so that I can come and search for it. I repeat, it's very important for you to know where it downloaded it. Mine is in my download folder because when we open Excel and use Power Query, we have to come and get this file. We are not interested in this. You can even delete the meta file. This is what we are interested in. So I will go and launch a blank Microsoft Excel. So here I go, Excel. So you can see we've already done look for data, download data. We've already downloaded it. We want to import the data into Power Query. That's what we are doing right now. I'll click here to open a blank workbook of Excel. And what I'll do, let me do some slice adjustment here. Okay, so what we'll do is you go to data, the ribbon data, and here you look for get data. So I'll click on get data. My data is a CSV data. I go to from file and you take text CSV. If you, anything with CSV, that's what you want to get. I'll click on it and then it's going to enable me to navigate to where my data is. So right now I know it's found in my download folder. I'll click there. This is the folder. I'll double click and this is the file I'm interested in. Click on the file, click on import. Now you have to be very careful at this point because it's going to import it. Now it's important, those of you who may be tempted to open that file by double clicking, you may end up having problems. So do not do that. You have to use this approach. When you come here, do not click on load, click on transform data. So I'm going to click on transform data. And here we go. Now I always have to adjust this because I have the impression my image on this video is blocking certain parts of what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. So this is Power Query Editor. This is where we are going to do the next stage. We've imported it into Power Query. We need to clean the data. Now, how are we going to clean the data? We want to use only what we really need to use. For example, here you see the different titles. We need to get rid of the things we don't want to use and only keep the ones we want. We want the date, that's important to us. We want the region, that's important to us. And what else do we want? Let's look for the values. We want the values. That's all. Anything else, we don't care about it. So how do we go about it? You make sure you are at the home ribbon. You go to choose columns. I'm going to click on the drop down and take choose columns a second time, and a dialog box opens. I will uncheck everything here and then take reference date, take geo, and then look for value, take value. It's very important you only select the three of that. If you do more than that, you end up into trouble. I'll click OK, and here we go. Now the next thing I want to do is to come and double click on date and change it and give it date. Hit enter, double click here and say region, hit enter, and value is fine. Now after doing that, the next thing you want to do is you have to make sure the type here is date type. So I'll come here where you have the square box. I'll click there and make sure I choose date. Okay, very important. I'll choose date. The next thing, when you go to region, make sure it's ABC. I'll make sure it's ABC. It's of type text. And here I have to make sure this is of type whole number. That's perfect. So you have population. It has to be whole number. You don't have 0.5 people. You have whole numbers when you are dealing with persons. So great. We can now go with our data and have fun. Now, by the way, if your thing doesn't look like mine, you can just go to view. If I click on view, you can see maybe you don't have column quality. So these are just the two things I've checked. It's a personal, it's really up to you what you want to do. So now I'll change this name and just give the name population and hit enter. And the final step, you go to home, you click on home, you come here, you have close and load. I'll click on the drop down arrow and I'll take close and load to. And it's going to give me these options. Yes, I want it to be a new worksheet and to be on this table, to be given as a table. I will say OK. And that is it. Voila. So if you take a look at the previous instructions, you'll find that here we are dealing with clean the data, we've cleaned the data. Now we want to plot the data and we want to comment on our plots. So how do we plot the data? When it looks like this, it's not too helpful. It can be a bit confusing. So we need to pivot this data and then plot. So I'll click anywhere inside this table. I'll go to Insert. Once I'm in Insert, I will take Pivot Table. Do not take Recommended, take Pivot Table. I'll click on Pivot Table and I will accept the defaults. You don't need to change anything. The basic thing is make sure you click here before you start. So I'll do OK. And here we go. Now, how do I approach it? Where you have value, drag it. Click and hold, drag it and put it where you have value. Where you have region, click it and drag it and put it where you have columns, because it's going to give you things by the different regions. Okay. Oh, we could just, let me see. Yep. And where you have date, click, drag and put it where you have row. So now we have population by the different regions. Okay. So there's something I want to get rid of. If you can see that now we no more just have dates, but it has split. You now have quarters, you have years, you have things like that. Okay. So we could play around. I could just see if I could uncheck quarters. And if I could uncheck date so that we simply have years. Okay. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to generate a plot. Now you can see it's very long. Okay, we want to generate a plot. Click anywhere inside, make sure pivot table analysis there, and then click on pivot chart. Now you can choose any of this chart. Generally you want to use a line chart to see what's happening. Now this is Canada, and you can see how population is changing in the different provinces. So I'm going to say OK. And once you say OK, here you can just extend it to be able to see clearly how population is changing. Now, this is your legend. You can change the position of the legend. If I go to Design, I can change the position of that legend. I can come here to add chart element, click on the drop down, look for legend, and make sure legend is at the top or at the bottom. It's really up to you. You can change the position, you can increase things, but let's leave it like that for now. Now, I don't want to allow Canada to be here. You can see this is definitely Canada. You can just come here, click here, and you can uncheck Canada and you say OK. So Canada disappears. It gives you a much better view of how the population is. Okay. And you also have the option, you can only look at the population, let's say for the past 5 years. You can come here, click, and then uncheck everything, scroll all the way down, and just choose from 2022 to, let's say, the past 5 years, and OK. Then now you see how the population looks like. You can as well just choose the province of Quebec. So I uncheck everything and I take Quebec and Ontario and say OK. Then you can see how the population looks like for the past. So clearly you can see the population of Ontario, you see the population of Quebec, and you see how it looks like for the past years, whether it's going up. You can even look at how it looks like for it. You can check the whole thing and see how it has been changing across time. Okay, which province has the highest population growth and why, and what does it mean in terms of economics? So That's an awesome exercise. All what I will need to see is you should send me this file. Okay, so send me your Excel file so that I can open it and give you grade. So this is activity number 1. Just do this, and you don't need to write any comments. It's true. Here I ask for comments, but in class we can talk about why this is the way it is. Awesome. I hope you have fun with this.